The old woman's hand was ice cold when Emma Torres found her collapsed in the alley behind street Michael's hospital, her breath coming in shallow, desperate gasps that sounded like death knocking. Emma had just finished a brutal 16-hour shift, her scrubs still stained with someone else's blood, her feet screaming in her worn-out sneakers that she'd been meaning to replace for 6 months but couldn't afford. She should have walked past. Should have called 911 and kept moving toward the bus stop where she'd wait 40 minutes in the cold because her car had been repossessed 3 weeks ago. But Emma had never been good at walking past suffering. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Emma knelt beside the elderly woman, her knees hitting the wet pavement. The woman's skin was gray, her lips tinged blue, and her expensive silk blouse was soaked with rain and something darker, blood, seeping from somewhere Emma couldn't immediately see. The woman's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glazed with pain. "Please," the woman whispered, her accent thick, Italian, maybe. "Help me." Emma's hands moved on instinct, checking for pulse, for breathing patterns, for signs of trauma. She found the wound quickly, a deep gash along the woman's side, probably from a fall against the dumpster's sharp edge. Not life-threatening if treated soon, but dangerous if left alone. Emma pulled off her jacket despite the cold, pressed it against the wound. "I'm a nurse," Emma said softly. "You're going to be okay. I'm going to get you help." The woman's bony fingers suddenly gripped Emma's wrist with surprising strength. "No hospital, please. No police. They'll find me." Emma's heart sank. She'd heard words like these before, from domestic violence victims, from undocumented immigrants, from people running from things Emma couldn't begin to imagine. "You need medical attention. This wound." "No." The woman's eyes cleared for a moment, sharp and commanding despite her condition. "I have money. I can pay. Just not official. Please." Every protocol Emma had ever learned screamed at her to call for help. But she looked at this fragile old woman, at the terror in her eyes, and made a decision that would change everything. Okay. I live 2 blocks from here. Can you walk if I help you?" Getting the woman to Emma's apartment was a nightmare of slow steps and stifled groans. By the time they reached the 4th floor walk-up, Emma was sweating despite the cold, and the woman had lost consciousness twice. Emma's apartment was barely more than a studio, a sagging couch, a mattress on the floor, a kitchenette with a stove that only worked on 2 burners. But it was clean, and Emma had a first aid kit that would make a paramedic jealous, stocked from the hospital's supply room over months of careful, guilty theft. She laid the woman on her own bed, the only bed, and got to work. The wound was ugly but clean. Emma irrigated it with saline, her hands steady even as her mind raced with the insanity of what she was doing. Treating someone off the books. In her apartment, someone who was running from something. "You're good at this," the woman murmured, consciousness returning. "Gentle. I've had practice." Emma threaded the suture needle, grateful she'd learned advanced wound care during her brief stint in the ER before budget cuts moved her to the underfunded geriatric ward. "This is going to hurt. I don't have anything for the pain except ibuprofen. I've survived worse." The woman's face was pale but her eyes were alert now, studying Emma with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "What's your name?" "Emma. Emma Torres." "I'm Rosa." The woman paused, as if deciding whether to say more. "Rosa Castellano." The name meant nothing to Emma. She focused on her stitches, small and precise, the way she'd been taught. "You need to tell me what happened, Rosa. Did someone hurt you?" "I fell. My own stupidity. I was running from." Rosa's voice trailed off. "From people who wish me harm." "Family?" Emma asked carefully. "In a way." Rosa smiled bitterly. "The worst kind of family." Emma finished the stitches, dressed the wound, and helped Rosa into one of her own clean t-shirts. The old woman looked strange in it. This elegant woman with silver hair and cultured features wearing a faded Walmart shirt in a rundown apartment. But she also looked relieved, like she'd found shelter from a storm. "You should rest," Emma said. "I'll take the couch. This is your bed. You're injured." "I'm not." Emma was already pulling a thin blanket from her closet. "Sleep. We'll figure out what to do in the morning." But Rosa caught her hand. "Why are you helping me? You don't know me. I could be dangerous." Emma looked at this old woman, at the vulnerability beneath her commanding presence, and thought about her own grandmother who'd died alone in a state facility because Emma couldn't afford better care. "Because someone should have helped my abuela when she needed it. And they didn't." Something shifted in Rosa's expression, a crack in her armor. "Your grandmother, she died 6 months ago. Pneumonia. I couldn't afford the good nursing home. Could barely afford the bad one." Emma's voice went flat, the way it always did when she talked about this. I worked doubles, picked up every shift I could. Wasn't enough. It's never enough. I'm sorry, Rosa whispered, and she sounded like she meant it. That night, Emma lay on her couch and listened to Rosa's labored breathing even out into sleep. She thought about her mounting debts, about the eviction notice she'd received last week, about her car that was gone and her pride that was next. She thought about the $600 in her checking account that was supposed to last 2 weeks. She thought about calling the hospital, about doing the right thing, the legal thing. She didn't call. In the morning, Rosa was sitting up in bed, looking considerably better. Emma made coffee, the cheap kind that tasted like dirt, and scrambled eggs that she'd planned to stretch for 3 days. You don't have much, Rosa observed, not unkindly. No, Emma handed her a plate. But it's honest. Honest doesn't pay the bills. Neither does lying, apparently. I'm drowning in debt from nursing school, from my grandmother's care, from just existing. Emma surprised herself with her honesty. Maybe it was easier to tell the truth to a stranger. I make $32,000 a year. My rent is $1,200 a month. Do the math. Rosa ate in silence, but her eyes never left Emma's face. And yet you brought a stranger into your home. Used your supplies, your food, your bed. Why? Because I'm a nurse, Emma said simply. It's not just what I do. It's who I am, even when it costs you. Especially then. Rosa nodded slowly, like Emma had confirmed something. I need to make a phone call. May I use your phone? Emma hesitated, then handed over her cracked screen smartphone. Rosa dialed from memory, waited, then spoke rapid Italian into the phone. The conversation lasted 3 minutes. When she hung up, her face was unreadable. Someone will come for me tonight, Rosa said. I'll be gone from your life. But first, I want to know something. If you could have anything, anything at all, what would it be? Emma laughed, a sound without humor. Besides world peace and a cure for cancer, I'd want my grandmother back. I'd want to not be drowning in debt. I'd want to practice nursing without worrying about whether I can afford tampons this month. I'd want. She stopped, embarrassed. Sorry, that's a lot. It's honest. Rosa's eyes were intense. You saved my life, Emma Torres. I don't forget debts. You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone should do. But most wouldn't. Most would have walked past. Called the authorities. Protected themselves. Rosa reached out, took Emma's hand. I know this world. I know how it treats people like you, good people who sacrifice everything and get nothing. It's wrong. Life's not fair, Emma said, echoing what she'd been told 1,000 times. No. But sometimes we can bend it toward justice. That evening, just after sunset, there was a knock at the door. Emma opened it to find 3 men in expensive suits, their faces hard and professional. The lead man's eyes swept the apartment, landed on Rosa, and his expression transformed into relief. Signora Castellano, he said, his accent matching Rosa's. We've been searching everywhere. I'm fine, Marco, thanks to this young woman. Rosa stood, moving carefully. She'd regained her commanding presence, and suddenly Emma understood this wasn't just some old woman. This was someone important, someone powerful. Emma, these are my associates. They'll take me home now. You should see a real doctor, Emma said. Get antibiotics. Watch for infection. I will. Thank you. Rosa embraced her, and whispered in her ear, you saved my life. Now let me save yours. Then she was gone, swept away by the men in suits, leaving Emma standing in her doorway wondering if it had all been real. 3 days passed. Emma worked her shifts, came home to her empty apartment, tried not to think about the strange old woman and her stranger words. Then, on the 4th day, there was another knock. This time it was a woman in a business suit, carrying a briefcase. Emma Torres. Yes, I'm Catherine Moss, from Whitfield and Associates. May I come in? Emma's stomach dropped. A lawyer. This was it. She was being sued for treating someone without proper authorization, for. Please don't panic, Catherine said quickly, seeming to read her face. I'm here on behalf of Rosa Castellano. May I sit? They sat at Emma's tiny kitchen table. Catherine opened her briefcase and pulled out documents. Mrs. Castellano has instructed me to handle several matters on your behalf. First, your student loans. She slid over a paper. Paid in full as of this morning. All $63,000. Emma's hands started shaking. What? Your credit card debt, cleared. The car that was repossessed. It's been purchased back and is in your name, free and clear. Additionally, Mrs. Castellano has arranged for a trust fund in your name. The principal is untouchable, but it generates approximately $40,000 annually in interest, which will be deposited monthly into your account." The room was spinning. Emma gripped the edge of the table. I can't, this isn't real. It's very real. Mrs. Castellano was quite insistent. She said you saved her life, and this is simply, evening the scales. Catherine slid over more papers. These are the deed and title documents. Everything is legal and documented. You'll need to sign here, and here. Who is she? Emma whispered. Rosa. Who is she really? Catherine's expression became carefully neutral. That's not my business to discuss. What I can tell you is that Mrs. Castellano is a woman of considerable means and influence. She values loyalty and kindness. You showed her both when she was vulnerable. This is her way of expressing gratitude. Emma signed the papers in a daze. After Catherine left, she sat in her apartment, her paid-for apartment, she realized, since the back rent had been cleared, and cried. Not delicate tears, but huge, ugly sobs that came from somewhere deep in her chest where she'd been holding terror and exhaustion for years. 2 weeks later, there was another knock. This time, it was Rosa herself, looking healthy and elegant in an expensive dress. Behind her stood the same men in suits, but they waited in the hall. "May I come in?" Rosa asked. Of course. Emma stepped aside, still processing everything. "I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem." "Then don't say it. What you did for me wasn't about gratitude. You helped because it was right. This is me doing the same." Rosa sat on the couch, patted the seat beside her. "I want to tell you something. The truth." Emma sat, her heart pounding. "My son," Rosa began, her voice heavy, "is not a good man. He's powerful, wealthy, and feared. He built an empire on things I don't like to think about. But he's my son, and I love him, even though I don't always love what he's become." She paused, gathering words. "There are people who would hurt him by hurting me. That night you found me, I'd been taken by rivals. I escaped, but I was hurt, disoriented. I couldn't go to a hospital because they were watching. I couldn't call my son's people because I didn't know who to trust." "You were running from organized crime," Emma said quietly. "Yes, and you, knowing nothing, risked everything to help me. You gave me your bed, your food, your supplies. You asked for nothing, expected nothing." Rosa's eyes were wet. "Do you know how rare that is? In my world, everything is transaction. Everything has a price, but you just helped. Because you're good." "I'm not special," Emma protested. "You're wrong. You're extraordinarily special, and this world chews up people like you and spits them out broken. I've seen it happen over and over. Good nurses, good teachers, good social workers, destroyed by a system that doesn't value them." Rosa took Emma's hand. "I can't fix the whole system. But I can fix your small corner of it. That money isn't charity. It's payment for a debt I can never fully repay. You gave me my life back. Let me give you yours. Your son," Emma said carefully. "The powerful one. Does he know about this?" Rosa smiled. "He does now. When he found out what happened, that his mother had been taken, escaped, and been saved by a stranger, he wanted to meet you. To thank you personally." "I don't think that's a good idea." "You're probably right." Rosa laughed, a sound of genuine warmth. "My son's world isn't for everyone. It's dark and complicated, but he wanted you to know that you're under protection now. Always. Anyone who harms you harms our family. And we protect our family." The weight of those words settled over Emma like a blanket, comforting and terrifying at once. "I just wanted to help." "I know. That's exactly why you deserve this." Rosa stood, preparing to leave. "One more thing. There's a nursing position opening at St. Catherine's, the private hospital across town. Better pay, better conditions. They've been instructed to offer you the position if you want it. No strings. You can say no, but you deserve better than 16-hour shifts for poverty wages." After Rosa left, Emma sat in her apartment, really looked at it for the first time in months. It was still small, still shabby, but it was paid for. Her debts were gone, her car was back. For the first time since her grandmother died, she could breathe without the weight of financial terror crushing her chest. She thought about that night in the alley. About the choice to stop, to help, to take a stranger into her home. Everyone had always told her she was too soft, too giving, that she needed to look out for herself first. That kindness was a luxury she couldn't afford, but her kindness had been rewarded. Not because she expected it, not because she planned it, but because sometimes, rarely, the universe bent toward justice. The next morning, Emma called Street Catherine's. She took the interview, got the job. It paid $52,000 a year, not wealth, but enough to live with dignity. Enough to save, enough to help others the way she'd been helped. She kept working, kept helping patients, kept being the nurse who stayed late and advocated fiercely and cared too much. But now she did it without the constant terror of drowning, without the crushing weight of impossible choices. Sometimes, late at night, she thought about Rosa, about the old woman who'd been running for her life and found salvation in a random act of kindness. About the complicated world of organized crime and family loyalty that Emma would never fully understand. About the son who apparently ran a criminal empire but loved his mother enough to reward the stranger who'd saved her. It should have felt wrong. The money had come from dark places, been earned through means Emma didn't want to examine too closely. But Rosa had been right, the system was broken. Good people were destroyed by it every day. And if Emma could use this gift to survive and keep helping others, wasn't that its own kind of justice? 6 months later, Emma got a card in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of Rosa, healthy and smiling, in a garden somewhere beautiful. On the back, in elegant handwriting, "Thank you for seeing a person, not a stranger. For offering help, not judgment. For being the kind of human this world needs more of. You changed my life by saving it. I hope I've changed yours by protecting it. With eternal gratitude, Rosa." Emma put the photo on her refrigerator, next to the old picture of her grandmother. Two old women, separated by circumstances but connected by love and loss in the complicated ways we save each other. She never saw Rosa again, never met the mysterious son, never entered that dark world of power and violence and criminal empires. But she kept nursing, kept helping, kept being kind even when it cost her, because now she could afford the cost. And sometimes, when she worked late and walked through dark alleys on her way home, she remembered that night. Remembered the choice to stop, to help, to risk everything for a stranger. Remembered that kindness, real kindness, wasn't about expecting rewards. But sometimes, in a world that often felt cruel and unfair, kindness came back around. Sometimes the person you saved you right back. And sometimes the most unlikely people taught you that goodness wasn't weakness, it was the strongest thing in the world. Emma Torres kept being good. And for once, being good was enough.